Anything that's unbalanced is unstable. Everything in life that has any type of unbalance to it, anything that it endeavors to produce will become unstable. And God dealt with me about doing a video on balance because there's a lot of people who's unbalanced. Therefore, they're unstable in their finances, unstable in their relationships, unstable in all these different areas. And it's due to something else dictating or adding pressure to their lives, causing them to be unbalanced. This is the greatest, one of the ultimate tricks of this system that was designed by Satan, is to put enough pressure on all the weaknesses of man or women, causing them to be unbalanced, and anything that is balanced through that weakness cause the unbalance, which will also unbalance anything that was previously balanced. That's why I say if someone's unbalanced in their health, the unbalance in their health will cause the unbalance in their finances, or the unbalance in their finances will cause the unbalance in their health. Anything in life that pertains to you, if one thing in your life is unbalanced, it becomes a threat to unbalancing everything else in life. That's why with this video, I just had a little homework at the end I'm going to get to. But if you don't remember anything else in this video, remember this quote. This quote that I have right here says this: in order to remain balanced, you have to avoid the two extremes. In everything in life, there are two extremes. In every relationship, how you react, there are two extremes. How you handle your finances, there are two extremes. Even in religion, there's two extremes. Even when it comes to Christianity, there's two extremes or two types of people that causes unbalance. You have the people that's too intellectual, too doctrinally sound, or the people who's too emotional, too charismatic. In order to remain balanced, even in your Christian walk, you have to avoid these two extremes, or balancing the two. Or like my mom always says, chew to me, spit out a bone. Merging everything together to find out what is cohesive to the truth of whatever it is that is in your life. It comes to everything. Even with finances, even with money, even with time, even with your own health. Everything has two extremes. And the best way to remain balanced in every situation is to avoid those two extremes. That's why I have to ask you, where in your life are you unbalanced? Where in your life are you drifting to an extreme? Where in your life are you having added pressure to you that's causing you to be unstable? Because the reason why most people are unstable is because something, an altered view of something, is dictating how they perceive something. How you perceive something will dictate how you'll remain balanced. For example, if a person views women in a certain way, due to how they was taught or how they perceive women, they will become unbalanced when it comes to the opposite sex. How a person was brought up as far as stewardship or being a good steward over their finances is dictated how they perceive money. How you perceive something will also dictate how you will be balanced with it. In order for a man or a woman to be balanced in a relationship, they have to have some type of not accuracy, but some type of adequate information about the opposite sex. If they have no information that's legit enough to keep them stable, then as they walk into their relationship will be unstable. As they gain money in life, the way they spend that money will become unstable. That's why you have to ask yourself, where in my life do I lack information of? Where in my life am I ignorant to? The definition of ignorance is to ignore the truth. We all have time in the day to make sure that we find the adequate information in order for us to remain balanced. That's why before I endeavor to get married, I will take the time as a man right now to study a female, to study what it means to be a husband, to study how it is to be a father, so that when I step into that role, I will already have the enough information or knowledge as I apply it through wisdom to be balanced. The reason why our world is so unbalanced and unstable because the thing that dictates what they perceive is altered, it's perverted, it's not of God. That's why God said I had to write a written word for people to adhere to, because if I give them something that is transcending human emotion or transcending human knowledge, then if I can have something which is my written word, if the human mind and the heart come together in harmony and submit itself to God, to my word, then they will remain balanced. But look at our world today. How many people actually submit themselves to something higher? That's why the Bible is considered a manual. Everything that you have in life has a manual, from all your electronics to your cell phone to everything that you have in life has some type of manual. That's why God said, as the human being, since the human race is so unstable of itself, let me provide that human race with a manual so that if they actually want to see how they should operate in life, they can actually go to the manual. Imagine if your cell phone breaks down right now or it starts freezing up. You can actually go to a manual or to something else that manufacture that product to find out how to fix it. The reason why we're unbalanced and the reason why we're unstable is because we don't go back to the manufacturer. How many people are broken and bitter and soaking in the ocean of unforgiveness, knowing that they are so broken, but don't go to the manufacturer? That's why God gave us his written word, to help us perceive women and men and money and our neighbors, and to perceive how we should operate in different situations. Look inside of your life today and ask yourself, where am I unbalanced? Am I drifting to an extreme? Am I too far right or too far left? It's everywhere. That's why I say, in order to remain balanced in your Christian walk, to remain balanced on your job, to remain balanced in interacting with people, to remain balanced with your family, is to avoid the two extremes. It is evident everywhere, even in Christianity. There's people who was like, well, Jesus was too poor. No, Jesus was poor. Jesus was rich. What happened to content and stewardship? What happened? Then you got these extremes that birth from that perception of Jesus. Now you have people that says, I would rather be poor for Christ. And other people that say, I want to be rich for Christ. But no one's ever talking about being content and being a good steward. There's different principles and different things that life produces, or a knowledge that produces, for us to remain balanced no matter where it is. We shouldn't be thinking about being poor or being rich or being this or being that, or perceiving women or men like this. We should endeavor to make sure that every place that I step my life in, I endeavor to avoid the two extremes to remain balanced. When you gather knowledge, true knowledge, use wisdom, and wisdom is the application of knowledge. Apply what you know, and in every situation, before you aggressively run into it, take 2 steps back and observe and find out, where am I going? Am I going to the far left or to the far right? With this video, I have an exercise. I want you to get a sheet of paper, and I'm going to have a note tagged at the bottom of this video, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. But with this note, I'm going to have a list of different things that most people are unbalanced in. And I really want you to look at your life on a scale of 1 to 10 and to find out, in my finances, am I too far left as far as I'm spending too much, or am I too far right and I'm too frugal? Where can I find that balance? And I'm going to do it for relationships, for finances, for interactions with people, for all these different things, so you can have a better chance to see your heart in the light of this exercise, and to see how can I, with my husband, with my wife, with my money, with my time, with my purpose, with my relationship with God, find that balance. Thank you so much for watching my video. Feel free to share this video to help people that you may know that needs that balance. People who are too extreme, left or to the right. Those people whose perception of something is dictated not by truth, but by something perverted. Thank you so much for watching my video. I just want to add this quick nugget. The reason why I believe that most people are unbalanced is because the heart and the mind is not in harmony. God gave us a brain, and God also gave us emotions. And with these two entities within our being, he endeavored for them to work together. There's two extremes with this. When you have someone that's strictly on the mind or the brain or intellect, they're extremely intellectual. Then you have those who go strictly by their heart, they're extremely emotional. God intended for these two things to merge together, to work together, not to work separate of each other. That's why in everything in life you have two types of people. The intellectually strong, those people who question everything, or the too emotional strong, the people who listen and act on everything. And with that, if the mind and heart works together, that heart and mind will work together, knowing that they are working for each other and with each other. God gave us a brain to make sure that we reason through. Reason and zeal are the two things that he wants to work together. If you're too zealous, you'll fall for anything. If you're too intellectual, you'll question everything. And with those two extremes, you'll avoid the richness that comes with being balanced. That's why you have to ask yourself, which part of my being am I? Am I too intellectual that I don't have no zeal for nothing? Or am I too zealous but I don't question anything? Because if these two work together, the brain, the reasoning process, the thinking, the fast pace of the mind will guard the heart from being too zealous. God gave us a brain to guard our hearts. He didn't give us a heart to guard our minds. And many people are using their hearts without thinking. That's why today ask yourself, how am I thinking? What is the dominant forces in my mind that's controlling my zeal, that's controlling my will, because everything in this life is aiming for your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. And if they can get to your subconscious mind and over to your conscious mind, then they can dictate your actions, your spending habits, everything. That's why the system is strategically built like this, endeavoring to get to your mind to grasp it so hard so that they can use your emotions for their benefit. That's why you have to be very careful that as a believer, and those who are not believers, listen to this. Because there is a higher power through God, through his son Christ Jesus, that he endeavored to, through his word, to make sure that we are balanced. Because if we add anything that our mind is engulfed with, dictates our habits. So I just want to add that quick piece. If you have any questions about these videos, definitely hit me up. Just want to add those 2 cents to the rest of the $1.50. So thank you so much for watching the video. Y'all be blessed.
Home, 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 home.
Feel the pressure, new semester. Everybody's getting fly, gotta dress up. And parents pay a lot of money, they expect you to make a lot of money, so you don't wanna mess up. Now you're stressed, huh? Try your best, but why it never seems enough to impress them? And you just wanna hear him say good job instead of get a good job. So tell me, where is your rest, huh? The parents feel the strain too, cause they named you, and they got the responsibilities to raise you. If you turn out like a demon instead of an angel, then they be catching the blame for bringing the family shame. When kids have kids, they run and abandon. Others stick around, model broken examples. Clean ones, nobody's hands is. And sometimes this life's got more questions than answers.
I feel the pressure, yeah, coming from every side. I feel the pressure, yeah, knocked down but I'm still alive. When I feel the pressure, yeah, like where do I run to when I feel the pressure?